had this OnePlus 8 for about a week now, so I wanted to do some sort of impressions on it. Not necessarily a review because I don't have a script, but starting at the cameras here, it's a classic OnePlus. It's definitely the weakest part. The 8 Pro was definitely a lot better, but the main shooter is a 48 megapixel shooter, and it takes okay photos. Sometimes it's overexposed, colors aren't right, and a little noisy. That's a big issue with this, is noise. But it's okay. The wide angle it's honestly pretty bad. Probably the weakest, because I've noticed around the edges the color sort of distorts, and I was just talking about noise. This is absolutely the worst offender with that. And that's the camera system. There's only two. The third one is sort of a color filter, whatever. It doesn't really help all that much. It can shoot 4K 60. It can't do the 8K like the 8 Pro can, but that's fine. Nightscape works pretty well on this. It's definitely improved over time on OnePlus phones, but that's the camera system. Battery life has been excellent. This has a 4300 milliamp hour battery, and as you can see here by these logs, from 84% to 30%, so not even fully dead. I got 3 hours of screen on time, 22 hours or 23 hours of standby, and that's basically consistent. That's average. And this is another really great thing that OnePlus has been working on, is the charging speed. 30% to 90% in 30 minutes, 28% to 84% in 26 minutes. It's extremely fast. Have to see how that affects the battery long term, but honestly, how fast it charges, it really outweighs the lack of wireless charging and the potential damage to the battery. So next, I really want to talk about the overall design and build quality. This is one of this phone's strongest points. I think this is actually, I think it's called Glacier Green. In very, very certain lighting conditions, it looks green. But it definitely looks amazing. It's a matte finish, so it feels very, very soft, and compared to my 6T that I'm recording this on, they've done a couple things to kind of make it easier to hold. They made it skinnier and a little taller, so you get a little bit more screen technically, but it's easier to kind of grip onto. The metal frame is now a bit grippier. It's not glossy like how it was on older phones, which helps a lot. And then, of course, as I already said, the matte black, or not the matte black, but the matte finish, compared to a glossy glass surface, makes it overall way easier to hold. And this is my first phone with a rounded display, and I actually really like it. This is a very subtle rounding. It's not too much. It's not crazy. It's certainly no, S7 Edge. But I really do like it. It just makes it makes videos and wallpapers and stuff like that sort of curve around just a little bit. I really like that. This is the 8GB model or the 8GB of RAM, 128GB of storage, and of course, Snapdragon 865. So performance is amazing. I thought my 6T was good. in performance, but it seemed almost broken now just because how fast this is. It has, the screen is a 1080p 90 hertz panel that gets about, I think it was 1,000 nits. So readability outdoors, that's something I found with the 6T that was a little rough sometimes, but this fixes that. And it has a what's a good video? Let's do 4K video here. It has the hole punch display, which, once again, this is my first phone with a hole punch display. This video is not running at the proper quality. Yeah, it is. But I actually like it a little bit more than the 6T's notch, than a center notch, because I find it easier to kind of forget about, especially if you're kind of holding your phone like that. You can almost even cover it. I find this display very immersive. They've shrunken the bezels just, ever so slightly, and the speakers, there's two of them. There's a speaker here in the earpiece, and there's a single bottom firing right here, and they sound very good. They do sound sort of a little tinny, I'd say. It's definitely not like the richest, fullest sound is what I'd say it's lacking the most, but very immersive, because this has Dolby Atmos support, so it sort of fills the sound out. So this has obviously an in-screen fingerprint sensor, like past basically all OnePluses, and this one is very improved. It's extremely fast, and it's just consistent. It's way more consistent than the old ones. That's the biggest thing that they were missing. Sometimes if you kind of put your finger like that, it wouldn't fully register, and it would take like 5 seconds to get into your phone. That is not an issue with this at all. Now, this phone can be had currently in June 28th, 2021 for about $400-ish. I got this for $350 on Prime Day, which is an extraordinary deal for this performance, this overall package. For $350, it's an extremely good deal. But for $400, I think it's definitely still a good deal. You would probably want to shop around, see if there are any deals, especially if you really care about the camera. This camera system, I wouldn't even really say it's that much better than my 6T with Gcam. Legitimately, the camera system is the weakest point of this by far. It's extremely weak. Even after all of my software updates and stuff like that, it just doesn't take really good pictures. It's just the way it is. There probably are versions of Gcam that you could fiddle with and get working with the wide angle and whatnot, but this time around I'm probably just going to stick with OnePlus's camera app, even though, like I said, photo quality is not that great, and especially if it's in less than ideal conditions, it really starts to struggle. So, but other than that, extremely good. Fast charging, great screen, excellent battery life, good speakers, amazing build quality and finish. If you can get this for about $400, I'd consider picking this up.